Hey, attention in the pits, attention in the pits. We'll make the call to the lanes now for Outlaw 275 along with Limited Street. And we'll give a standby call to Real Street. So Outlaw 275 and Limited Street, this is your call to the staging lanes. And Real Street, you are on standby. So a little bit of a glitch with the computer. We're going to let him stage up the cars one more time. So Brody Soares and Jan Christensen. There we go. Couple of double 04 lights. Both drivers going double 04, one red, one green. At the finish line, Jan off the gas, 892 at 108 miles an hour. Brody Soares on the gas, 813 at 168 miles an hour.
So far, we are 3 for 3 on no drivers improving on their Q3, Q2, or Q1 times. Emily Gerard brings up the Sheer Solutions Just Mechanical Dragster facing off against Rod Leclerc in the Paradise Homes Camaro. Leclerc still stands at number 2, about 2.5 tenths off of Dane LeKelt, who currently holds the number 1 spot, set that time early in the day. The 661, Leclerc with a 686. Gerard's Dragster currently sits 7th with a 746 with an 8. If she wanted to get up and into the top 5, she has to gun for a 732 with a 1. To beat the car in front of her, she's going after a 740 with a 5 for Jeremy Soares, who currently sits in 6th.
Three bulbs lit. Waiting for Emily. There she is. So Leclerc out there moving around a little bit. Finally decides to give up on the run. Coasts through at 892, 113 miles an hour. Emily Gerard gets down the track to the tune of a 743 at 179.
Gerard able to improve in the ET department, but not so much on position. Her final qualifier puts her 7th, 743 with a 6, improved by about a quarter of a tenth. Next pairing up, Kimberly Jonkine for Titanium Autogroup, Ragtorque Systems, JS Power Sports, and Chaotic Customs. Facing off against Keith Peterson for Pro Power Management, Peterson Fabrication, with stitches by Shireen. Running that super gas Mustang.
So Peterson on and off the stop over there in the right lane. Kim's to the finish line already, 764, 158 miles an hour. Peterson with a 949, 165 miles per hour.
Huge improvement for Kimberly Johnson on that one. Was sitting 24th with a high 9-second pass. That pass going to punch her all the way to the top 10. Now sits 8th with a 7.64. Keith Peterson also improving enough to make it into the show with that 9.49 pass.
So Chad back out there in his S10. Full pull. 940, 148 miles an hour.
So with track prep underway for the Outlaw classes in their final qualifiers, your field for top comp is set. Your number one qualifier, Dane LeKelt, with a 661, set all the way back in Q1. Rod Leclerc comes in second, James Kennedy third, Darren O'Connor fourth, Mike Lucas in fifth, Jeremy Soares is sixth. Emily Gerard, Kimberly Johnson, Scott Robertson, and Derek Shirk round out the top 10. 25-car field. Every single driver making it in. Ryan Johnston, the driver that starts down from the bottom with a 982, just barely making the show.
Everyone knows that the most important part of drag racing is the golf cart. So show off your cart today by tweeting us hashtag Mission Raceway Golf.
Well, folks, we're getting very close to putting a wrap on this opening day of Doorwarz 12. Got Outlaw 275 in the lanes, ready to go. Following them will be Limited Street, and then we'll put the night to rest with Real Street. So for those of you left in the stands, we certainly appreciate you coming out, and even more so, appreciate you sticking out the entire night with us.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody that's been the long haul award winners that might have been here from gates opening to sticking it out here for the final few qualifying rounds for Doorwarz. First official day, of course, we were supposed to have test and tune action yesterday, and, well, that didn't really work out too well, but still got a little bit of a mini test and tune session in the morning this morning before rolling into qualifying action here throughout the afternoon. So definitely good to get that under our belts and Getting into the qualifying sheet right now for Outlaw 275. And oh, as you look at that, Justin Glantz still at the top after round number 3 of qualifying with that 440 with a 3. 443 with a 0, putting Dan Rodriguez in the number 2 spot. He's the only other car into the 442nd zone. Justin Collin in the number 3 position, 455 with a 0, 457 with a 5, putting John Cuglietta, who waited until his third pass to get up the qualifying ladder, in the number 4 qualifying position. 459 with a 3 for Jason Gagnon in the Nova, putting him in the number 5 spot. Scott Schulhauser in his Mustang, a 464 with a 5 in the number 6 qualifying position. Neil Richards, early shutoff for the Cream Dream, a 465 with an 832 miles an hour, shown in the mile per hour end of things. And Chris Brenton in the number 8 spot, a 473 with a 9 in the Chevy 2.
So we've got our 275 and limited cars in the lanes. The tractors out there just giving things a little rub. Spread a little more glue around. Make it all that it can be. Then we'll let the 275 cars loose one more time.
And for these competitors who probably going to be finishing up, eliminations, at least in the covered darkness tomorrow, a good chance to get maybe a feel for what the track conditions are going to be here. As again, things cooling off and cooler temperatures than we have had for quite some time in July here for the last few Doorwarz. As be a good chance to get that final hit in with no pressure before you head into eliminations. And if you spin the tires, might have to pedal it multiple times trying to get it to the stripe to move on into that next round of competition and try and challenge for that $10,000 payday for Doorwarz 12 here at Mission Raceway Park in the Titanium Strip. As you see your Outlaw 275 competitors all lined up, ready to go into the staging lanes. And again, just the West Coast Outlaws classes to finish up their 4th qualifying sessions with Outlaw 275 Limited Street, brought to us by Rocco's Diner and Real Street for Jerry's OK Tire. Well, there we are up on the big screen here at Mission Raceway Park with the tower staff in varying levels of excitement. As, again, getting late in the evening here. And, again, a big thanks to everybody here at Mission Raceway Park that helps to make this racing weekend possible every single weekend, from the JBS Equipment ET Series up here until, as well as Doorwarz. And the 12th edition here at Mission Raceway Park is, again, getting ready for the 4th and final qualifying session of Outlaw 275. This year brought to us by Milleron Aluminum Truck Bodies, stepping on board, taking over sponsorship of the Outlaw 275 category and getting that one and final opportunity to get the qualifying pass here at Mission Raceway Park. Again, with the nighttime conditions getting a little bit cool, and racetrack's going to get pretty tight here in a little bit, and the margin for error in the tune-up department gets even thinner, and the chance potentially for stepping up could be disappearing here. So we will see what this 4th and final session will bring us, and it's brought some surprises before, and well, maybe we are in for a few more surprises here going into this final session for Outlaw 275 as well as Limited Street. Oh, hey, John, look, up on the big screen. I think we're giving away a Ford. Did you hear we're giving away a Ford Mustang? I think that might have been mentioned a few points already this weekend, but if you haven't watched the live stream, there it is up on the big screen. And hey, you just got to scan the QR code on the side of that thing. We're going to give it away at Smoke, Fire, and Thunder. But hey, it wouldn't be too bad to get a nice, slightly used Ford Mustang that has been proven to be pretty capable at making some passes down the Titanium Autogroup strip here at Mission Raceway Park.
Absolutely. Somebody will be going home in that car.
And it could be used sitting right there in the stands, or if you want to hold it up to your screen at home, take a scan of the QR code. Also, if you're entered by, well, I'll have to double check at a certain point, but to get some VIP passes to No Prep Kings coming up July 26th and 27th. Again, if you get in and entered early on, you'll get entered in a draw to win some VIP passes to one of the bigger events here at Mission Raceway Park, one that everybody seems pretty excited and pumped up for when the No Prep Kings come north of the border. They're also going to be a Rad Torque Raceway in Edmonton the previous weekend as part of their northern swing and bringing a fleet of contenders here to face off with us Canadians up here north of the border. So should be an entertaining weekend here at Mission Raceway Park.
No, definitely looking forward to that. I got to say, more so out of curiosity than anything else to see how it actually works. I mean, we're all pretty used to seeing the television version, but now we get to see it how it plays out live.
That's going to be a cool behind-the-scenes glimpse to see how things work in the no prep world. Of course, kind of similar to the deal that they did when they went down to Australia and traveled around with the kind of all-stars selected team that comes across the border and trying to do some battle and some bragging rights definitely on the line heading into, well, about a month or so, pretty much exactly a month from now for No Prep Kings here at Mission Raceway Park. Of course, the following weekend, drag strip's also going to be in action with the Langley Loafers BC Old Time Drags. It's always a fun weekend here at MRP, and looking a little bit closer in the calendar department, July 12th and the 13th here at Mission Raceway Park. Spec D going to be back in action with drifting at the far end of the facility down at the road course area, so plenty of cool events on the calendar for Mission Raceway Park. You head to our website for full info, as well as to check out all that we have to offer here at MRP throughout the 2024 season.
With the headlights on, still in the lead.
Again, on tonight's episode of Will They or Won't They Pull Into the Parking Spot here at Mission Raceway Park. As, well, if you're tired of us talking here at this point, at about 12 hours into Doorwarz day number 1, you might want to tune out of 92.7 FM, but if you're not within earshot of a speaker and for some reason want to continue to hear us talking, 92.7 FM is what you're going to be wanted tuned into throughout the weekend on your FM dial to hear all the lane calls a little bit later on. Tomorrow, that's going to be pretty pertinent information, but with only about 3 classes left in qualifying tonight. Might want to tune off the radio for now. But again, 92.7 is what you're going to tune into on your FM dial here at the racetrack. That is going to be the source of information, as well as Twitter and X that is going to give you your lane call information as well that you can tune into throughout the weekend. So in Pro Modified competition, Scott Blake emerges as your number 1 qualifier with the West Coast Pro Modifieds with that 381 with his 6. He's going to get the competition single in by run in round number 1. And Nick Duda and Eric Horvath is going to be the 7 and 8 qualifiers heading into eliminations. They're going to face off against each other. Number 4 qualifier, Ryan Hayward, going to take on the number 11 qualifier, Tony Moretto. That's going to be Dave Kowalski up against Eric Halverson, other side of the ladder. Number 2 qualifier, Garrett Richards, going to face off against the number 13 qualifier, Ryan Griffin, if he is able to make the call tomorrow. Steve Horn, the number 3 qualifier, going up against the number 12 qualifier, David Mendez. And then the number 6 qualifier, Steve Goddard, facing up against the number 9 qualifier, Jacob Skosilas, who banged the blower on his 3rd qualifying run. Did not see Jake out for run number 4, so hopefully they can get the Corvette repaired, have the parts in hand, which is half the battle, and get that machine ready for eliminations coming up tomorrow. Well, when we're not counting on the tractors, are questioning whether they're going to go back to the parking spot. Of course, that's when they go back to the parking spot. Good news is, sound of tractors and rubber mats dragging down the groove has been replaced by race cars. And here we go into round number 4 qualifying for Milleron Truck Bodies Outlaw 275. So Chris Gould coming into the 4th and looks to be final session for Outlaw 275, running a 486 with a 7 at 144 miles an hour. Round number 3 of qualifying, his best run of the weekend so far, and again putting him in that number 9 position. Parm Jawanda at the bottom of the ladder, 14th the qualifying order with a 612 with a 6 at only 78 miles an hour. So Jawanda looking for a big improvement on his final opportunity to make said big improvement. He's going to be lined up in the Lordco lane. The turbocharged combinations is Jawanda. He's been searching for the tune-up on that machine. Gould has also been struggling to try and creep up on the tune-up of his Mustang that, again, can go into the 460s, 450 zone. We've seen him comfortably in the past. Parm Jawanda, the racer out of Surrey, up against Spruce Grove, Alberta's Chris Gould. Gould, former Outlaw 10.5 competitor. I believe he had a Camaro back in the day, if I'm not mistaken. For CT Automotive in the TCS side of the racetrack. Top bulbs lit both sides. Boost builds. Here we go for the first pair in the final round of qualifying. Oh, that is a whole lot better for Parm Jawanda. 466 with a 657.89 miles an hour. 488 with a 142 miles an hour for Chris Gould. And that's going to be Not an improvement for Gould, but still in the ballpark of what he ran last session. And Joanna going from 14th all the way up to the number 8 spot, so the top half of the qualifying field for Parm Joanna with that 466 is Scott Schulhauser in the Lordco lane. Scott coming into the session. Your number 6 qualifier, Tyler Stamler, trying to get into the 4-second zone of the S10. He's in the TCS side of the racetrack, getting brought up to the line. The racer from Rocky View, Alberta, in the 2000 S10 for Mini Mej Horsepower Solutions and Akron Chemicals. Again, rolling into the turbocharged combinations. LS Power Plant for the S10 up against Schulhauser out of Calgary. Whoa, big air time, and back down to terra firma for Stamler. 452 with a 166 miles an hour as Scott Schulhauser improving big time in the ET department, and he's going to go up to the number 3 qualifying spot as Tyler Stamler almost stood the thing on the tailgate in the TCS side of the racetrack and comes down in a shower of sparks.
So I looked up in enough time to see the sparks, but that was the only part I caught.
It was a spectacular run early for Tyler Stamler, who 124 to the 60 foot, but that was with maybe not even the rear wheels, but the bumper, as that thing was way skywards. As we're going to get a look, missed out a little bit in the replay. Wind her up. There we go. Boom. Back down to the ground. And, well, the front suspension, the oil pan's not going to be happy with that one, as Tyler Stamler airing it out. And Scott Schulhauser running his best run of the weekend, skipping straight from the 460s to the low 450s. 452 with the 166 miles an hour, as that car was hooked up in Holland and puts him in the number 3 qualifying spot. So after checking out the impact spot, just past the 330-foot mark, we are getting the signal to fire him back up, and it's Mandy Brooks and Chris Brenton.
So turbo in the right lane. And a nitrous combo over here in the left. Oh, cool little Chevy too. Chris Brenton out of Vancouver, Washington. Mandy Brooks in the tower lane out of Camrose, Alberta.
Mandy coming into the session at the bottom of the qualifying order, and she has fortunately been able to get that Malibu to hook up at any point. But if we've just seen from any of the pairs that have just gone down the racetrack, traction not an issue. As Chris Brenton, first round of qualifying, his best run of the weekend up until this point, 473 with a 9, and had a big sideways moment at the TCS side of the racetrack last time up in round number 3, able to get that car gathered back up and bring her back out to take on the Lordco Auto Parts side of the racetrack in his final qualifying run.
Breton lights the fourth bulb. Here we go. Breton on and off the gas. Mandy Brooks to the finish line first. How about that? 4:56, 156 miles an hour. That is a good looking run for that team.
That is a big step in the right direction, and Mandy Brooks goes to the number 5 qualifying spot with a 4:56 with a 656 miles an hour. 4:76 with a 965 miles an hour. Improvement in the elapsed time department for Brenton, but that's going to keep him in the number 10 qualifying spot. Actually gets knocked down a spot.
Attention in the pits, attention in the pits. Real Street, Real Street. This is your call to the staging lanes. Real Street. Bring them down to the staging lanes, please. One more time. Real Street, this is your call to the lanes. So Real Street will be our final category to go down the track this evening. They will bring day one to a close for us. So Neil Richards in the right lane, backing up the Cream Dream.
Dan Rodrigue coming into the session in the TCS lane, the Malibu in the number 2 qualifying spot with a 4:43 with an O. And Neil Richards, who clicked it off early on his best pass of the weekend up until this point, of 4:65 with an 8. See what the Cream Dream can do if it makes it to the stripe under power.
Well, that looked pretty solid. Rodrigue, 4:43, 154 miles an hour. Nice, solid pass. I'm sure that's going to move him up some. Neil Richards, 4:56, 158 miles an hour in the right lane. Oh, well, Rodrigue did not improve on that.
In fact, Johnny ran dead on his 4:43 with an O that he had as his best run from session number 3. So if you got a 4:43 bracket car in Outlaw 275, that's not too shabby, especially going into eliminations.
Well, there we go. So Neil Richards did improve, though.
That is Neil Richards up to the 6th position there for the Cream Dream, and Neil 4:56 with an 8 on that pass, slots in behind Mandy Brooks, also running a 4:56 with an 8, coming down to the final decimal place by 1/10,000th of a second. Mandy Brooks hanging on to the number 5 qualifying spot over Neil Richards in the lineup, as it is Justin Collin out of Airdrie. It is Airdrie, Alberta, and John Cuglietta.
So burnouts are done. Just waiting for the boys to get the Mustangs backed up, back behind the starting line.
So John Cuglietta in the Lordco lane, who we were saying Chris Gould used to run Outlaw 10.5. John Cuglietta used to run Outlaw 10.5. Had himself a Chevy S10 pickup that was converted from Top Sportsman competition to run that, and then built this Balboa Mustang the last few years. Justin Collin, fresh rebuild for his Mustang, as he has already turned on the top bulb. One final purge of the nitrous system as Justin reaching up, pressing the button, and Cuglietta waiting to roll on in. Here we go for the next pair. Cuglietta going to make her to the top end, no problem. 455 with a 161 miles an hour, and that is going to be a improvement in the ET department for John Cuglietta. And he is going to stay in the number 5 spot, 455 with a 0, as he is 7/10,000ths of a second behind Justin Collin in the qualifying order. Collin keeping the number 4 qualifying spot based off of his last run in round number 3. And again, holding on to the number 3 qualifying spot by 1/10,000th of a second, as it is going to be Jason Gagnon. By the looks of things, the final car to make a qualifying pass this weekend here at Doorwarz in Outlaw 275. So Jason Gagnon, he came into this session in the number 5 qualifying spot. He has since been knocked down to the number 8 qualifying spot. 459 with a 3, his best run so far, as the starting line crew doing a little sweeping as they have seen, well, a little bit of something that doesn't look too bad leaking out of the bottom of the race car, as they're going to make sure that is all sopped up with the mops, and Jason's going to bring the car up, get her staged, get her ready to go for the final car down the racetrack in Milleron Truck Bodies Outlaw 275.
Well, that looked pretty clean. And it was 458, 163 miles an hour for Jason Gagnon in the left lane. Behind the wheel of his Nova, affectionately known as Angle Plug.
That is going to keep Jason in the number 8 spot with an improvement in the ET department. And that's going to round out Outlaw 275 qualifying. So Justin Gallant at the top, 440 with a 3. Dan Rodrigue in the number 2 qualifying spot with a 443 with a 0. 452 with a 2 for Scott Schulhauser, puts him in the number 3 qualifying position. Justin Collin, 455 with an O in the number 4 spot. A 455 with an O, throwing a 7/1/1000th of a second behind. 1/10,000th of a second behind Justin Collin. John Cuglietta in the number 5 spot. Mandy Brooks, a 456 with a 6 in 6. Neil Richards, a 456 with an 8 in 7th. Jason Gagnon rounding out the top half of the qualifying field in the number 8 spot. Of course, 16-car elimination bracket, 14 cars qualified. Rob Aston getting ready to take to the track in the Pro Mod bike.
Looking good for Rob. How about 7-11? Beats his personal best one more time. Improved last run to a 7-12. Now pulls another hunt off, goes 7-11.
So here we go with Limited Street rolling into the water box for Rocco's Diner.
Be Dennis Drummond and Chris McGraw. Chris McGraw on the right lane, behind the wheel of Flipper. Dennis Drummond over here in the tower side lane, the TCS lane. In his 03 Cobra, wants to thank Legacy Autogroup along with True North Trucks.
Dennis Drummond, hard launch in the Mustang and carries it through to a 541 with a 626 miles an hour. 579 with a 2 for Chris McGraw at 120 miles an hour for Flipper. As it's Josh Cullen in the wagon, and he's going to face off against Pat Hearn in the Angry Bird Mustang for Gen 3 Speed Gibson Racing Teams at the BCIT Aerospace Campus out there in Richmond, right by YVR. As Pat looks like he's backed up right into the water box, and attempt number 2 at a burnout for Pat. It's Josh Cullen coming into the session. Josh currently number 3 in the qualifying order. 540 with a 2. Again, putting him in the number 3 qualifying spot. Pat Hearn comes in number 5 in the qualifying order with a 551 with a 6. Max Nielsen rolling into the water box. Looks like he's going to be the final car to come on up for the final session of Limited Street. Pat Hearn out of it early. Dance in the front end, 536 with a 928 miles an hour. Improvement for Josh Cullen in the elapsed time department keeps him in the number 3 spot. Is Max Nielsen, the Sturgeon, Alberta racer. Give me the final car up for Limited Street qualifying in their 4th and final session. So Max Nielsen, 512 with a 1, only car in the 5 teens. You're defending Limited Street champ. Only thing he didn't do last year was, well, win Doorwarz. Trying to rectify that this year for the 12th edition. Max Nielsen front and off the ground. How about a 508 with a 6? And if I am not very much mistaken, that is a new Limited Street record for Rocco's Diner. I believe the first car that we have had in Limited Street to go into the 5.0s. 508 with a 6, 137 miles an hour for Max Nielsen. So here we go, final class to wrap up qualifying tonight. Robin Rowe Jr. and Raj Lal, your first pair for Jerry's OK Tire Real Street. Raj in the Civic out of Surrey and Robin Rowe Jr. in the Acadian out of Surrey. Gibson Racing Transmissions, Horizon Paint and Body SD Performance Machine. Wheels up for Rob and takes her down to the top end with a 10.52 with a 6. 125 miles an hour, 13.003, 121 miles an hour for Raj Lal as he fought for traction all the way down the Lordco lane. As Ryan Laudred out of Maple Ridge, 71 Chevelle, and Jan Christensen in the 78 the Z28 Camaro. And the TCS side of the racetrack is, I believe, your last pair in Jerry's OK Tire Real Street qualifying. Is, well, scratch that, last 2 cars paired up as your final pair rolls into the water box. Jan Christensen out of it early in the Camaro, 1165 with an 115 miles an hour for Ryan Ledrette in the Chevelle, and it's going to be Corey Craig and Scott Kolodachuk. Rolling out of the water box, burnouts complete on either side of the racetrack, and by the looks of things, this is the final pair of the night. As the top end is clear, and Kolodachuk already turned it on the top bulb as Corey Craig in the Hayabusa out of Chilliwack is staged and ready to go. Corey Craig, 761 with a 0, 189 miles an hour, as he is the number one qualifier heading into elimination. Scott Kolodachuk out of Surrey in the 91 Mustang, 1041 with a 5, 129 miles an hour, goes up to the number 4 qualifying position. And that is going to round things out for day/night number 1 of Doorwarz 12 here at Mission Raceway Park.
I tell you what, you're not going to find a more exciting qualifying day than that. For all the feature classes, fields are pretty much set for the big show in the fastest door car race in the Northwest. Don't forget as well, Door Slammers and Top Fuel Harleys, they both have 2 more qualifiers tomorrow. Of course, box, snow box, all the juniors, you'll be having all of your qualifying in the elimination programs throughout Saturday and Sunday. For everyone else, Pro Mod, Outlaw 275, Limited Street, Real Street, and more, we will be seeing all of them up for eliminations roughly around 1 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. Start time tentatively, looking to be somewhere around 9, 10, thereabouts. 10 o'clock, it has been confirmed, 10 a.m. So we'll see you all there for race day in Doorwarz 12.